Hello everyone, my name is Brenda and this is my little dog buddy. Hello. And each and every week we share our adventures with you about living in a tiny house on YouTube. And if you're new to my channel, welcome. And if you've been watching, welcome back. We appreciate you very, very much. And in today's episode, I'm going to share with you 5 surprising ways that living in a tiny house on wheels has impacted my life. And some of these ways you may find very surprising. And so we'll get started with number 1. Number 1, living in a tiny house on wheels has boosted my confidence and made me realize that I can do hard things. And so some examples of that is, one is my mini split. I'm 55 years old and I never had a mini split before, didn't have a clue how to take care of one, just turn it on, turn it off, change the functions with the remote control. And if I had some issues, I wouldn't know how to fix it. And so probably about 6 months of living in the tiny home, one day water was just pouring out of my mini split. So then I had to call the heating and air people, wait for them. I had to turn off the mini split, wait for them to come out to service the mini split. And what happened was the line was getting clogged up. And so they would use their little device, blow out the line, and it cost me $150, $200. I had to go without my air, whether because it's happened in the summer, it's happened in the winter time. And I thought, I feel like I can do this. I can do this hard thing and know how to take care of this mini split and not be dependent on someone else to try to work me into their busy schedule. And they get to me as fast as they can, but sometimes it's not it's not fast enough. So you're going without your air, waiting on them to come out. And so I would watch them take apart the mini split, and I get on YouTube and learn how to take care of the mini split, how to clean it, how to blow out the line. And so I was able to learn how to take care of the mini split, even though it seemed very overwhelming, maybe not having enough confidence that I was capable of taking on a project like that. And I've done it so many times now that I'm very comfortable with taking apart the mini split. I've even made videos that I posted here on YouTube showing you how you can also do it. That you can do hard things too and learn new skills on how to take care of stuff that's giving you problems, and you're not at the mercy of someone else. Now, there are things that I have tried to fix that I wasn't able to fix. My microwave quit working. I tried to fix that. My heating element and my on-demand hot water heater. I knew how to fix it. I just wasn't strong enough to get the heating element off. But I dive in and I try to figure things out. Sometimes it works out. Sometimes it doesn't work out. But I dive in, I do some research, watch YouTube videos, and it has built my confidence up to where I feel like I can tackle these very intimidating projects, and you feel very accomplished. And whenever, if it works out or it doesn't work out, it doesn't really matter because you gave it your best shot and you tried. And in the process, you're learning something new. You're building up your skill set, and it makes you very confident that you know how to do your research, that you can try to fix things on your own before you call outside help. Now, if you have to call outside help, then that's perfectly okay. You're not a failure, but you did everything that you could, learned a lot in the process, and that boosts your confidence. I have a front porch on my tiny home, and some steps had rotted from the weather, and last year I took those off, put on some new steps, never done any kind of carpentry work before, and I also placed a rotten board on my porch. And so those kind of projects, if you've never done it before, it can make you feel intimidated, like you don't have the skill set to be able to do that. But you just dive in and you figure it out, and hopefully it works out. And if it doesn't, that's okay too. And so living in a tiny house, it has really boosted my confidence and made me realize that I can do these hard things. Number two, it has helped me to gain resilience. I got my tiny house in October of 2019, and around, I think it was February of 2020, my hot water heater just went kaput. I had an AquaHot hot water heater, and not only did it heat my hot water, but it was also a secondary heat source for me, and it totally died. And it took about 6 or 7 months that I went without hot water, and that was very difficult to do. I would have to boil my water to wash the dishes. I did go I took a lot of really cold showers because I didn't have any hot water. And so when it was really cold, because that was still during the winter time, I would go to my mom's, which is right next door, and take my showers. But it built up resilience, making me realize that you can go through this really hard thing. And so I don't know if you've ever been without hot water before, but it can be very, very challenging. And you still have water, but even like with cooking, washing dishes, if it's greasy, it doesn't really clean very well if you have just cold water. It doesn't break through that grease or that dirt like hot water does. And so that was very difficult, but I got through it, and it built up resilience. And also, living in a tiny home, even though I have skirting on my home, the first winter I didn't have skirting on my home, and then like the next winter, the second winter I did. So I had to deal with frozen pipes at least 3 winters in a row. I dealt with frozen pipes, and just learning how to troubleshoot that. And that can be very stressful because you're not only concerned because you don't have any water at all, cold water or hot water, but you're concerned that your pipes are going to burst, and then it's going to cost you all this money because you're going to have to replace your pipes, hope it doesn't do any kind of damage. And just troubleshooting and trying different things every year to try to prevent that from happening, taking these extra steps to try to figure out what you can do to try to prevent this from happening, because you know that it will happen if you don't change something. And just going through every year, just trying different things. For example, so I got the skirting, and that didn't really seem to help. And then the plumber come out and trenched like plumbing, like water that goes to my house and from my house, trenching that so these pipes weren't exposed, because I started off with the marine water hose. And the water hoses, they are just gonna, in my experience, because especially when it gets like really super cold, it's a water hose, so it has a really big tendency to freeze. Even if you have like a heated water hose, you still have a lot of issues with that, and you have to like really wrap it and insulate it, because it's above ground, it's exposed to the elements. Just trying to figure out like a different solution of how to get water into my home and water going out of my home to try to prevent, or at least try to decrease that from freezing whenever the temperatures drop below freezing for a very long period of time. Usually if you have a cold night and it drops below freezing, and then the next day it gets above freezing, usually that doesn't really affect, well, for me, it doesn't affect my pipes very much. But whenever it drops below freezing and it stays there for several days, then you have more of a tendency for your pipes to freeze. So living in a tiny home on wheels, It has really built up my resilience to know that I can tackle whatever is going on and push through and come out on the other end with a resolution and not freak out whenever you have a problem, because you have built up your resilience and it's making you stronger. The third surprising thing about living in a tiny home and how it has impacted my life is appreciating the space that I'm in. When you live in 320 square feet of living space and everything is really open, you really learn to appreciate the space that you're in. I know a lot of people, they custom build their tiny home to fit their needs and their preference and how they're going to use that space individual to themselves. And that's what I did with my tiny home, is that I carefully designed the best that I could without ever living in a tiny home and designed the space that I felt like would be the most useful. It's made me appreciate each individual space that I have, because each area of the home, although it is small, it is custom to serve an individual purpose. So right now we are in the living space, and this space is designed specifically for relaxing and for lounging. And of course I have a little office area, I have a kitchen, a bathroom, a loft area that's designated for sleeping. I know that there are some people that have lofts. They like to read and hang out and relax in their loft area, but for me personally, I just use it for sleeping. Is the only time that I utilize that space. And whenever I lived in larger homes, I had all these rooms and all this space, and I didn't really appreciate the rooms that I had. I had a dining room that I never used. I had extra bedrooms and bathrooms that were never used. And so I didn't really appreciate those spaces because I didn't really use them very much. But whenever you live in a tiny home and you have very little space, you appreciate the space that you're in and everything that's in that space and how it functions, how it's designed and made to fit your needs. And I have developed a greater appreciation for being in each individual space in my tiny home. Number 4 is being more mindful about the things that I bring into my tiny home. I don't know if you're a compulsive buyer, but sometimes I have a tendency to be a compulsive buyer. I'll just be browsing the store and I'll see something really cool, like a really pretty basket or a container or a really fancy like trash can, knickknacks, and I think, oh, that is so cute. And then I'll have it in my hand, and I've even put things in my buggy, and I think about, where am I going to put it? Is that something that I really need? Is it just going to be taking up space? Am I going to have to make room for it in my tiny home? Is it really necessary? It may be really cute. It may be on sale. But is it something that is going to bring me joy? Is it something I'm going to appreciate? And a lot of times I end up taking it out of my buggy and putting it back on my shelf because it's just an impulse buy. I haven't thought it through, and so it doesn't make it home with me. And because I live in a tiny home, I have found myself being very, very mindful about what I purchase and bring into the home. Before I ever bring it into my house, I already have in my mind where I'm going to put it in my home. And maybe it is just a really pretty knickknack, but I feel like that will enhance my home, to bring more joy into my home, to have a more of a like appreciation every time that I see it. And not just be another thing that you collect and that you dust and then you're mad because you have all these things that you have to dust that doesn't bring you joy anymore. And not just with like household items, but also like with clothing. I'll see like some really cute things on sale, and I really think about, well, I already have like 10 sweatshirts, so I probably don't need another sweatshirt, although this is really cute. Or do I have some sweatshirts that maybe I don't wear anymore that I can give somebody, and then I can bring in this new sweatshirt? And the same with shoes. I have a lot of shoes. I have an ottoman in my living room, and it's just full of all kinds of different types of shoes. And most of them I don't even wear anymore. So whenever I see like some shoes on sale, and I think, well, I haven't bought a new pair of shoes in a long time. And then I think about all the shoes that I have now that I'm not even wearing. And so it saves you money too, because you're being mindful and you're thinking through that buying process. Well, do I have this already and I'm not using it? Do I just want it because it's cute or it's on sale? And so I ask myself these questions before I purchase it. So I really, really think it through. Or maybe I'll put it in my shopping cart, say, wherever you're shopping, if you're shopping on Amazon or another retail store, and I'll put it in my shopping cart and I'll think about it and give it a couple of days. And then usually after a couple of days of it being in my shopping cart, if it's something I said, yes, you will love this and you will use this, it will enhance your life, and I'll go ahead and purchase it. But after a couple of days, if I realize that, this was just another impulse possible buy because I didn't buy it yet, I put it in the cart and thought about it, then I just delete it from my cart. So living in a small space has made me very mindful thinking about the purchases that I have. I don't have a basement where I can store things in the basement, out of sight, out of mind, right? I don't have an attic. I only have one closet for my clothing, and I do have like some pieces of furniture that have drawers, and I have clothing in it, but I only have one closet in my tiny home. And so I can't stuff stuff in a closet and just put it out of the way where it's not in your line of sight, making your home feel cluttered, or stuff it like in drawers, because everything has its own designated space. And so it has made me very mindful in asking these questions before I bring it into my home. So that rolls us into number 5. The 5th surprising way living tiny has impacted my life. It has made me appreciate the things that I do have. When my tiny home was being built, I went through the paring down or the downsizing process. And so I had to go through each and everything that I had and decide what I'm going to keep and what I'm going to get rid of. And so I ended up getting rid of all of my furniture because none of the furniture would work in a tiny home. I got rid of so many clothes. I had a big walk-in closet, and it was just packed to the gills with clothes and shoes and purses and all the things. Lots of coats and jackets and, things that you had for years and years and years that you didn't wear anymore. And then also you had like pictures and knickknacks. So I held on to things that were very important to me, like things that my mom and dad gave me, things that my grandmother, my nanny gave me, my brother or my sister, really close friends. Those are the things that I brought with me into my home. That whenever I look at it's not just like a knickknack or some kind of object that I have. Whenever I look at it, it brings me back to the moment it was given to me. It brings me back to, what I was going through or feeling at the time, how that made me feel, how it filled my heart with joy knowing that they gave me this special gift. And so the things that I have in my home, most things that I have in my home, like knickknacks or pictures, things like that, when I look at it, it brings me a lot of joy because there's love attached to that item. And so it's made me really appreciate the things that I have in my home, because when I look at those things, it just fills me with love, and it fills me with joy, and I love being in my tiny home because it's just like when I come home, it's like I'm getting a big old hug whenever I walk through the door, because it's just filled with all these things, even though they're things and they can't love you back. But it was that gift that somebody took the time, they thought about you, and it was purchased specifically for you, and it was given to you with love. And so those are most of the things that I brought with me whenever I moved into my tiny home. It has made me appreciate all of the things that surround me in my little tiny home. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode today. If you did, give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. Leave me a comment in the comment section. Have you made a big move? Have you had to downsize? You went from a bigger house to maybe a smaller house or smaller apartment, a mother-in-law suite, a tiny house. What are some of the things that you have noticed that has changed in your life because you've had to either downsize or live your way a little bit differently? What are some of the things that you learned about yourself as you was going through this process? And if you like this video, share it with somebody else so somebody else can get joy out of it just like you have today. I hope that you go out and you make it a great day, and God bless, and we will see you on the next one. Buddy said, I'm over it, I'm taking a nap. He's over here snoozing. I hear him snoring. Buddy, what are you doing? What are you doing, little boy? What are you doing? Say, go out and make it a great day. Go out and make it a great day. Yeah. Say, go out and make it a great day. Make it a great day, and we'll see you on the